Hello, my name is Sophia Bryan, and I am an attorney at law and I'm a financial advisor. I am very passionate about supporting the financial empowerment of people and building a legacy. And that's the core of what I do as an attorney. And as a financial advisor, um, as a financial advisor, my goal is to support persons with um, achieving their financial related goals in a sustainable way, in a way that's manageable and that is easy for them, and not a way that will make them feel burdensome. And just let people be aware of what it actually requires to get to where they want to go and put a plan in place to get that done. So I'm really particularly passionate about supporting women on that journey, because there have been so many developments where women are concerned. There was a time when we weren't allowed to work. There was a time when our survival was dependent on who we were married to, and whether or not we were in good standing with the persons that we were involved with, on an intimate level. Of course, for some women, that is still very much a reality. But thankfully, where Jamaica is concerned, there is still um, there is still an opportunity for women to self-direct and chart their own course, and I'm very happy about that. Now, where I'm in my opening, or in the comments associated with the flyer for this workshop, I mentioned the word soft life because that is apparently trending right now. And in my opinion, when persons say soft life, many of the times they're speaking about the idea that they don't have to work and that there is somebody else that's carrying the burden of looking after them. And obviously, there are other concepts where soft life is concerned. Some people do think that it simply means not yielding to everybody's expectations at your own expense. But from what I have seen, the perception that I have is that when persons say soft life, it means, oh, somebody else is looking after you. You don't have to work. You don't have to be burdened with adulthood. And I think that for professional women or women that do look after themselves, when you hear the word soft life in that context, that somehow there is some shame around being able to look after yourself and being able to fund your own lifestyle and being able to fund your dreams. And I think that something is very much wrong with that. I don't think there should be any shame around being able to look after yourself, being able to fend for yourself. And then there's another flip side to it. If you have no issue with looking after yourself, taking care of yourself, but you're not able to do it at the level that soft life determines or dictates, then there is also some shame around that. And so I'm hoping that this brief conversation, this brief workshop that we'll have, I'm here to just probe it, to have ask yourself some intelligent questions, and then I'm going to also make some suggestions about things you can do where your finances are concerned, basic things that you can incorporate fairly easily once you put your mind to it. All right, so that's the background to this session. Just letting women recognize that there's no shame with looking after yourself, and there's also no shame with not being able to do it at the level that you perceive others to be doing. But you can get to the level that you want, and to not let what you want for yourself merely be a picture or a reflection of other people. So let's get into it. The growth phase. So many women, once you're in your mid 20s to early 30s, you're in the growth phase. you would have graduated from college or some sort of tertiary institution, or you would have been working enough years to demonstrate some level of mastery where you're in a position to get a certain level of income. You've been working, you've started a second job, and it's allowed you to live a little bit better. Hopefully without much reliance on others. So a key part of financial planning one moment, please. Sorry about that. Right. So a major part of financial planning is understanding that you should pay yourself first. Now, what does paying yourself first means? And it doesn't mean that you're evading your responsibilities. It doesn't mean that you're pretending that you don't have debt and you do have obligations. But what it means is that you recognize that in spite of all the obligations that you have an obligation to put something aside for yourself to support the realization of some long-term goal, right? So it doesn't matter what, the standard or the recommended amount is 20% of whatever you earn on a monthly basis. For many of us, that is not necessarily realistic based on the level that we're at. But the principle of paying yourself first means that whatever the circumstances are, I'm going to be putting money aside towards savings or investment or something that is of benefit and use to me. So there are some aspects of your money that is going towards you. And I sincerely apologize for the background noise right now. Very much unexpected. Some sort of construction is happening on this building. All right. Another key aspect of financial planning is managing your debt wisely. So student loan debt and credit card debt, those are the two banes of many persons' existence where their finances are concerned. I had a conversation with a prospective client yesterday, and I asked them about whether or not they had credit card debt, because we're, just to assess what their situation is. And they were like, who doesn't have credit card debt? And I was like, and then they were like, aside from you, who doesn't have credit card debt? Listen, in your own time, you can look into the pros and cons of having a credit card. But if you've ever encountered credit card debt, you know that as soon as you slip, you slide, right? If you're not on top of things, if you don't manage when your payments are due, if you don't clear your bill as soon as possible, then you're in trouble, right? So manage your credit card debt wisely. And then student loan, it's another issue because where student loan is concerned, sometimes it just gets out of hand, right? So I'm going to talk to you about two ways that you can look at student loan and credit card debt. So where student loan is concerned, if you have an issue with that, Do not allow them to encourage you to take out a debt consolidation loan to clear off your student loan debt. And I'm speaking from experience because they will recommend that to you, especially if you missed a few payments. This is just the wrong idea. And here's why. Student loan is calculated at 9%. They claim that there's some reducing balance situation, meaning the interest is only calculated on what the remaining sum. I don't really know if that's true or not, but I do know that it's the percentage is 9%. Any debt consolidation loan, which is oftentimes an unsecured loan, because if you're in your late 20s to early 30s, you may not necessarily have own anything clear, free and clear, that will allow you to have a secured loan. And an unsecured loan, you're looking at an interest rate of between 15 to even 20%, right? So why would you take out a debt consolidation loan to clear off a debt that has an interest of 9% to go and then incur another debt that's at 15 to 20% interest? So you're seeing the logic here? So you really have to be mindful of, you really have to just do the math. You can't allow them to dictate to you that, oh, you need to clear the debt, we're going to send it to credit bureau, etc. You can't allow anybody to derail it. You have to think critically. You have to think wisely. So what is my suggestion where student loan is concerned? If this doesn't apply to you, just bear it in mind if anybody ever, comes to you about how to resolve their student loan issue. One, say to them, even if it's gotten to the point of the credit bureau, say to them, this is what I'm comfortably in a position to pay on a monthly basis. Or you can ask the representative that's assigned to your file to come up with a payment plan for you, and you and them can work out how many months it will take for you to get back to your regular payment. So for some persons, it may be so far gone that it's going to take a huge lump sum, but you can still have a conversation with them. And then you start off with your payment plan by making some type of lump sum. And a lump sum could be $200,000. So you save up a lump sum and as a show of faith to say, this is a lump sum towards the ending this particular debt or regularizing it. So whatever they said your initial payment ought to have been, you want to just get back to that payment and just so that and not worry about clearing it off immediately. So you get a lump sum, you say to your representative, I need a payment plan. They put together a payment plan for you. If the amount that they're asking you to pay on a monthly basis, you do the math and you realize that that doesn't make sense for you, you let them know that, look, I'm not in a position to pay that, you need an extended term. And then you work towards meeting that target on a monthly basis. If you're in a position to do a salary deduction, then you go ahead and advise your company that you want a salary deduction. And then at the end of the 8 months or the 12 months that it takes for you to get back to your regular monthly payment, then you advise your company again that what the new monthly payment is. And then you just pay off the debt at the time that's required. There's no need to rush to pay it off. It's a 9% loan. If you still have a window to pay it off, just continue paying it within that window. That's my suggestion where student loan is concerned. I do not recommend taking out any debt consolidation. The same thing for your credit card. If it's gotten to the stage where it's at credit bureau right now, you definitely need to have a conversation with whomever is managing your account and start a payment plan to clear it. And because it's so far gone off, you're in a better position to negotiate what that amount is, because at that point in time, they just want to get back their money. Right? They just want to get back their money, and they're glad that you are willing to now actually have a conversation with clearing off the debt. And why are these two things important? Because some people can say, well, it's so far gone, I can't bother. If you intend to own anything, they're gonna pull your credit report, and then they're gonna see that these two issues are there. And if you have not made any, and if you want to be able to access certain things, whether it be a mortgage or a car note, you're gonna have to demonstrate that you have taken steps in order to clear these things. And sometimes that is enough for you to get that new line of credit. All right, so hopefully that was clear. I know I said a lot. So that in a sense is how you're going to clean up your credit score. Another thing is you get to pull a free credit report. You don't want, whenever you go to the mortgage company or you go to the persons that will offer you the car note, you don't want that to be the first time you see certain things on your credit report. So you want to request the credit report, and then you want to go through it thoroughly, and anything on the report that doesn't make sense, you need to go to them and contest it. But in the case of the credit card and the student loan, you would have already known what those are, and you would have been able to get a letter from them saying, hi, this person has been in a payment plan with us, and the payment plan is expected to end at XYZ date. And usually you want to make 3 consecutive payments before you ask them to prepare a letter like that. So the next part of financial planning is setting a goal and understanding what it will cost. So many of us have lofty goals and aspirations, but we really don't know what these things will cost. So I'll give an example. You want a new car, you see the car, but you think that it's out of your reach. And you think that it's out of your reach because you haven't done the research to determine whether or not it's out of your reach. The car that I drive currently, I would have thought that it would have been totally out of my reach. But then it wasn't until I had the conversation with the sales representative, I realized that, okay, it's not as expensive as I thought it was. Granted, the payments are still, the monthly payments are still substantial in my opinion, but the car itself is still a lot less than I thought it would have been. And the reason why I don't have a longer payment term with my financial institution is because it's a used car, not a new car. Different people have different opinions about used versus new. After going through this experience of purchasing a used car, I know for a fact my next car will have to be a new car, because there are just so many small things that can come up as a result of owning a used car. But it's better for the environment and it's better for your pocket to an extent, because the flip side is if I had bought a new car outright, the overall cost would have been higher, but I would have been given a longer period of time to pay for the car note, and then it may have resulted in a smaller monthly payment. So there is that to consider when you're determining if you want to go used or new, right? So you just need to know what these things cost. Another example is home ownership. Many people think that it's really just the money for the house that you need. And when I have a conversation with them and explain to them all the fees that come with home ownership, they're so surprised because they didn't do the research. And then quite frankly, the information is not readily accessible. You really just have to dig. Even as an attorney, there are some things that if I don't remember them, it's not like it's at the tip of my fingers. It's like you have to know where to go, you have to know which part of the internet to go. So some information really is not that accessible, but some people don't even recognize that they need a deposit. Or they may have heard the term deposit, but not necessarily know what that means. And a deposit in the Jamaican context is 10%. It's usually 10% of whatever the mortgage amount is. And then you have legal fees. You can't buy property in Jamaica without the assistance of an attorney at law, surveyor, valuation, if you're getting a mortgage, the fees associated with a mortgage, insurance, etc. So you have to know what these things cost, and then you put a plan in place of how to get there or what you need to put aside in order to meet that goal or set some timelines around that goal. So when people realize what the true cost of certain investments are, I think, in my opinion, it humbles you. It humbles you because you realize that is not as easy as people make it seem. Like just because you see somebody achieve a certain goal, it doesn't mean that it was easy. And then you realize that you're putting undue pressure on yourself to meet a certain target that may be unrealistic or unnecessary, because you haven't put the amount of planning part in place to get there. Next thing, automate your savings and investment. Our banking system here in Jamaica has made it a little bit more easy to do automation on your own. You don't necessarily have to go in the bank now. Once you have an online platform for your bank, you can actually go in and set up recurring billing or recurring deductions to a particular account. So whether it's a savings account, whether it's your bill payment, you are in a position to actually automate that. And if you don't know how to do it, just go in and ask to speak with a banker, but preferably try and see if you're in a position to actually set an appointment to speak with somebody so that you don't go there and waste your time. But definitely you want to set up online banking and you want to automate your savings and your investments. Prepare for the uh-ohs and cover yourselves, or the radams, as we call it. That's a phrase that we're using in Jamaica now. So you want to ensure that you have something to cover yourself. Most companies have an insurance plan in place, health insurance. So you want to get on that. If you're able to, if they have it, or if they don't have it, you may want to find out from HR if they're open to speaking to a representative about that. You want to have whatever other form of insurance that you're able to access, and you want to have an emergency reserve. I put 3 to 6 months there, but listen, that's the ideal setup. That's the ideal setup, and the most important thing is to just start the process to get there. But again, this is not a target for you to start feeling as though you're burdening yourself to reach a particular goal. The reality is many people are, one paycheck away from a disaster. But once you're conscious about the fact that you need to have some sort of reserve in place and you're steadily working towards that, that's the most important thing. And setting timelines to get there. So if it is that you are a family person, if you do have children or if you have people looking after that you look after, if you were to lose your job, if it's going to have a detrimental impact on other people, you want to ensure that you have some sort of security plan in place, and that's where a life insurance policy would come into place. And you want to ensure that you're always abreast of who you put as a beneficiary, and then make the necessary updates. So an estate plan is another important part of a financial plan. Even if you're not a family person, you need to know that if anything were to happen to you, nobody has to beg or borrow in order to assist with their transition. So many persons do have a habit of saving. However, they don't allow their savings targets or their investment targets to grow with their income. Rather, they increase their spending or increase their consumption. And that's not what it should be. So having your car payment should not be more than what you put in your investment account. Again, this is the ideal setup. It depends on what your goals are and the purpose of which you have the car and the type of car that you would feel like you need. I think once you're in a position to make the payments and manage all the other bills and save, then you're good. But this is just a general rule. You shouldn't be overspending on certain things. Another important part of financial planning is determining your career path. The Honorable Shirley Ralph will demonstrate to us that we do have time, we are living longer, and you get to live a fabulous life for decades, many decades to come. And you can make a pivot, you can switch, but it's important to determine what pursuit will enable you to actually have the most return on investment. So is it just a job or is it just a career? Do you need to start investing in a career, the training and necessary qualifications to move up in a particular field? You need to give that some due consideration because it's going to affect your money. If it's a case where you don't need to do additional training, awesome. But what else can you do to demonstrate your value in your industry so that you're in a position to command more? And this is important because you can't have a financial plan without finances. And this is where for many of us a job or career comes into play. So does your livelihood affect others? I alluded to this earlier. That's some persons think about their parents, some persons think about their nieces and nephews, and having some sort of safety net for those persons. If you have children, an estate plan most certainly needs to be incorporated into your financial plan. So if you have a spouse as well, you need to be having a conversation with them about what will happen to the children if anything were to happen to either of you. This is just simply not something you want to avoid because it's uncomfortable. As adults, we have to think about uncomfortable circumstances and really plan ahead to mitigate anything that may be detrimental to the people that we love. So thinking about your children or the people that your livelihood is critical to their survival, you want to think about what will happen to them if anything were to happen to you. Decide on how you will give. Tithing is a principle that many persons, whether or not they're Christian or of a religious persuasion, they practice. My opinion is that this is how we make the word go around. We give, and giving doesn't necessarily have to be your financial giving. It can be your time, it can be your insight, it can be your expertise. I think this webinar that I'm doing, this is a way for me to give in some way. So you determine how you want to give. If it is that you find that you want to tithe, if it's a case where you give a certain percentage to a particular charity. But I think that giving is a matter of the heart, and it's for everyone to determine how they want to give. But I definitely think that giving in some way comes back to you. It makes the world go around, and we've all benefited from the many persons will say that they've benefited from the generosity of others. And so you want to be able to do that as well. Just a principle that many live by, and I think there's some merit to it. So key terms every woman investor should know. You need to understand the time value of money. You need to understand this is a concept that a sum of money is more than the same sum will be in the future. So basically inflation. Understand inflation, understand that time is money, and understand the time value of money is a core principle of finance. So many persons are paid an hourly wage. You want to have an understanding of what your time is valued at an hourly rate, if you need to break it down like that. And it goes back to career again, like if I did something to improve my standing in my career, would I then be in a position to improve the value of my time? And I know I'm a little uneasy about saying that because many women are oftentimes extremely qualified, but they don't use the qualifications that they have. So just listen with that caveat. You do need to do a thorough assessment of what talents and skills you have, what certifications, what qualifications you have, and then make the determination as to whether or not, is it that I need to market myself better, or is it that I need to improve on the skill sets that I have, because that affects your money. Interest on loan, you need to understand interest on loan, and I, belabored that point when I was speaking to you about the student loan and not taking out a debt consolidation loan to clear off your student loan. You need to know to do that basic calculation. Whenever you're taking out a loan, you need to understand what the percentage interest is. And it's a simple calculation. If it's 9%, 9 over 100 times the value of the loan, that's going to tell you what the percentage interest is. And then you add that to the principal sum, and you know how much money you're going to have to pay back. And you need to also understand, is interest calculated on the reducing balance? Meaning when you make a payment this month, is the interest being calculated on that new amount, or the interest remains the same regardless of how quickly you pay off the loan? Because if the interest is going to stay the same regardless of how quickly you pay off the loan, then why do you need to stress yourself out about trying to pay it off early? Like, we have this obsession to hurry and clear off debt and overburden ourselves, when it really makes no difference how quickly or how slowly you clear it off, because the interest is going to remain the same. So you want to have those that background information as well. You also need to understand compound interest, this wonderful thing called compound interest. So this is an interest on savings calculated on both the initial principal and the accumulated interest from previous periods. So what that means is that if you invested $100,000 and then you made 10% on it, so $10,000 next month. So next month it's $110,000. So the following month, you'll have 10% of $110,000. And then it just keeps growing and growing and growing from there. But many times where compound interest is concerned, you don't really see the value or the benefit of it unless you allow the money to stay and mature. All right? Risk and return, you need to understand what your risk aversion is. You need to understand if you are somebody that is willing to tolerate a high level of risk or not. And you need to have an appreciation for what the level of return is based on the risk that you take. And risk, usually it has a correlation with the amount of money you put in the market. Inflation, I spoke about this already, just the price of increase, or the increase in the cost of doing business, or the increasing cost of buying certain necessary consumer items. Diversification, there are several different opportunities for persons to put their money, and you need to understand or have an appreciation of most of them. Everybody understands stocks and bonds, but stocks and bonds are not the only ways to invest your money. You have mutual funds, you have equity funds, and in your own time, you can do some research where that's concerned. And then, you look into the different opportunities that you can access based on the amount of money that you have. So, as women, our barriers are different from the barriers that men have in a lot of ways. I started off the conversation about talking about this phenomenon of soft life, and the fact that for many people, soft life means somebody else bears the burden of looking after them. And it doesn't necessarily mean, soft meaning I'm not going to stress myself out or be a people pleaser or just do everything to please people, or I'm not going to overburden myself with the problems of others. No, usually when people talk, from my observation, is that, I'm soft because somebody else is looking after me. And the people that do have to work, the women that do have to work, carry some shame around that, especially if the work that they're doing doesn't allow them to have the lifestyle that they believe they should enjoy. So people think that financial planning, many women think that financial planning is a man's job. I've heard many instances where women will be the breadwinners, and for some reason they still turn over the responsibility of managing the finances onto their partner. Like, make it make sense. How can you be earning more than somebody and then you're earning more than them, you're bringing more, but yet still you feel like they're in a better position to manage the money than you? No, you need to equip yourself with the skill sets, the knowledge, and the understanding to manage your own money. And I know it's not just pure black and white when you have a spouse or you're a married woman, but at the end of the day, how can it be a man's job? You are equally as equipped, especially if you are bringing in most of the money. Another barrier is not tracking your credit score. That conversation or that thought only comes up whenever we're trying to get a line of credit, but it's something that you need to hold the reins on. You need to ensure that your credit is clean, and if there's anything on your credit report that doesn't make sense, you need to write to the credit bureau and protest it. And remember that you get a free credit report every year. Be aware of your partner's financial habits. If this person is a spendthrift, if they are a impromptu spender, impulse spender, or are they more conservative? Are they always saving? Are they frugal? Are they a little bit more balanced? You need to have an understanding of that, because it's gonna determine how much of yourself you expose to them where finances are concerned, okay? And I don't think that it's a betrayal to the relationship if you decide that you're gonna be conscious about how you go about managing your money. It's just a thing that you have to do as a responsible adult. And some people are more equipped than others, but there's no way you can think that somebody's more equipped than you to manage your own money, unless even if they're a wealth advisor, or they understand the market. You still have to utilize some knowledge. Don't be influenced by friends. Avoid the comparison of each other. Be mindful of your personal income level. Like I said before, we have goals, but sometimes we don't know what the cost is. And sometimes we may have shame around not achieving certain things. When the reality is, there's a great level of up leveling that we need to do to get there. Or sometimes the thing may not be as expensive or as out of your reach as you think. But rather than doing the research and getting the information that's required, we beat ourselves up and shame ourselves because we're not where we think we should reach. Yeah. So another aspect of financial planning is just understanding what's your priority. Is your priority paying off loans? Is your priority cleaning up your credit score so that you can prepare to access another line of credit to get maybe a car or a home? Is it getting an emergency fund in place? Is it having an education fund for your children? You need to determine what your key priorities are now, and that's going to influence your financial plan. And for every stage of life, your financial plan may look very differently. So if you have education debt, for example, maybe clearing that off or just managing it. Like I said before, you may not need to be rushing to clear off the debt if the interest is small and if you have a reasonable amount of time to pay it off. That also is an opportunity for you to demonstrate that you have good credit because you pay your bills on time. Yes. So another thing some people do is, like, if they have an issue with student loan, if they need to get furniture, for example, paying that new bill on time will demonstrate that, look, you just may have had a rough situation at the time. That's why your student loan got out of hand, but you are somebody that's reliable and you will pay your debts on time. So I hope this conversation or this training has been very insightful for you. I want to extend an invitation to you to have a financial security strategy session with me. That's totally free, and you just need to budget like about 30 to 40 minutes. And if there's any opportunity that I have that I can share with you about how to go about getting to your goals faster, I will share that with you during the session. So you can reply to the email. I think I may be sending out a mass email, and you can indicate your interest, or I may have somebody call you. But before I wrap up, are there any questions or comments at this time? You can type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. You don't need to turn your camera on. But if you want to share something on the mic, I saw the comment from Merlene Smith. Yes, I'm glad you found it interesting, Merlene, even though you came in the middle part. Glad that you got some value out of it. It's I am recording, so I'm not sure if I'll go ahead and share this recording, or I'm going to be having another replay next week, Thursday. So if you're able to come to that one earlier, that would be fine. But this is being recorded, so I made that decision once I review. Okay, question. I'm considering to take a credit card. Oh, do you think that is a good idea? All right, so in order to determine whether or not taking out a credit card is a good idea, is to one, determine what your income is and the purpose for the credit card. So can you say that? Can you, I'm not sure if the chat allows you to just share with me, but you can just give a general as to what your income is. You don't have to give the specific amount, just say what your income is right now. Ballpark figure. And she's typing between, okay, so up to 120,000. What is your overhead? So meaning, what do your bills amount to at the end of every month? Hi there, welcome to the person that just joined. We're on the tail end, but we're doing question and answers right now. Like I was saying to the ladies, I'm gonna be, the recording is going to be available, and I'll also be doing a session next week. Okay, nice. So your overheads are 60,000. Okay, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to know how you're managing to keep your overheads. So the purpose is for emergency. Listen, if that's the reason for it, you don't need it. Because if you are able to only spend half of your income, I think the problem is you may not have a space for you to put the additional income that you have once your expenses have been cleared off. What you need is to set a goal for yourself and just use that to motivate you to put money aside. Right? So you have investment opportunities that are accessible with that amount, with as little as even 10,000 a month, or up to $50,000. That's accessible. You need to find something to put that additional money and allow that to grow. And that's going to be your emergency money. You don't need a credit card for emergency. That's the reason why you don't need it. That's my opinion. If it's just for emergency, I don't think you need it. What you need is to put together an emergency fund. And if you do have a fund in place, you need to be able to put that money somewhere where it will actually grow and give you some interest. That's my suggestion. Clearing off a credit card debt is a very stressful experience. Talking from my personal journey with that, it's very stressful. And a lot of the times when people get into arrears with their credit card, sometimes it's not even their fault or that they're being irresponsible. It's just that it's just a bad time, right? But I'll give you a call to set up a time for us to meet, and then we can probably discuss some investment opportunities that you can pursue, where you attach that money to a goal. All right, next question. Is debt consolidation a good idea to clear credit card debt? It depends. So you need to determine. So I gave you the example of compare with student loan. Student loan is 9%, a debt consolidation is about 15 to 20%. So in order for you to determine if a debt consolidation loan makes sense, one, have you spoken to the credit card people? Have you spoken to them and tried to initiate a payment plan? If you haven't done that, then you're doing it backwards. You always have an opportunity to negotiate where these things are concerned. And if the debt is far gone, like it's already with a debt collection agency, you are in a position to say to them how much money you can pay on a monthly basis, because at that point in time, the aim is to just clear off the debt, because it stops accruing interest. Usually, I don't know the particular company that you got the card from and if interest is still accruing. But if interest is still accruing, so I'll stop sharing this slide. But if interest is still accruing, then you may want to look at what the interest rate is versus the rate of the debt consolidation. Ladies, we have to use our brain. We have to do the math. We can't escape math in life. We can't escape math. All right, seeing another question coming in. And then another thing on the credit card topic, based on your I'm not sure what's happening here. Based on your income level, you may not be able to get the based on your income level. I'm not sure what you mean by monetize a credit card. If you're talking about if you're using the credit card to maybe to use it as a line of credit, if you have a business or something like that. Yeah, as I was saying, where the credit card is concerned, if you're not at a certain income level, you're not going to get a card with a low interest rate. And you're not going to get a card that has benefits that you really want. So it doesn't even make sense if you're not earning at a certain income level. It's 48% for the card and 18% for the loan. Okay. Is the interest still accruing or has it paused? If the interest has paused, then I would say you don't need it. But if the interest is still accruing, then you want to give that some thought. So can you monetize a card using the card to get points? That's what they do to reel people in to try and get the card. But if you're not a business owner, if you're not traveling often, if you're not making a certain level of money where they're gonna offer you a certain kind of card, it doesn't make sense. So you have to determine, obviously I don't know what income level you're at, but you're gonna have to have a conversation with the business banker or the banker, and find out from them what are the benefits associated with the card, and when you have to make a payment, and if there's an annual fee and all of those questions. Before you take the card, you have to have a sit down with somebody and find out the details, and pray to God that is somebody that's honest. But if they're not clear, you still can read the fine print. So if the card is 48% and the interest on the loan is 18%, I would say you need to find out if the interest is still accruing. If the interest is no longer accruing and you can come to an arrangement with them where a payment plan is concerned, then I would say you don't need the loan. But if it's still accruing, you may also want to just get that fine print out of the way before you know what you're doing. All right. But these are some good questions. I love it. Oh, I think I added I got some I seen some things in the chat here, meeting attendance. All right, so are there any more questions, ladies? If not, I will be doing another session next week, Thursday. So you can, let your colleagues or friends know about it. I'll share the form for persons to indicate an interest. And if there's anybody that you think could benefit from this information, you can share it with them. But I'll do a mass email to send that out. Um, but these were awesome questions. When it comes down to these things, even if I have an audience of one, once somebody turns up, you never know the implications of planting a seed. So again, my name is Sophia Bryan. I'm an attorney at law and financial advisor, and my mission is to support persons to building a lasting legacy. And I'm particularly passionate about women embracing the opportunity that we have to create our own wealth, and our wealth does not need to be hinged on whether or not we get support from anybody that we're involved with. That support is a plus, but you don't need to feel ashamed because you don't have somebody to take care of you. There's no shame in being able to look after your own self. You are very welcome, my lady, and I look forward to having a one-on-one conversation with you. All right, so I'm logging off now. We've been here for an hour. Okay, one more comment is coming. All right, I think that was it. Oh, will the information you presented be shared? Well, I'm still contemplating if I'm gonna share the recording itself or the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is the way how I designed it. You would have to kind of hear my dialogue to appreciate the context. But in any event, I may just share the audio. So we'll see how that goes. I'll talk to my secretary and find out if the audio can be shared by itself. Um, all right, take care, ladies. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for spending your lunch break with me. My number is 876-990-7313. If you want to go ahead and give me a call later today about setting up a one-on-one session. All right, take care, folks.
Okay, thank you.
Lord. End meeting.